Hi, so today I will be ranking all the Night Lords from Elden Ring Night Reign from easiest to hardest. But the catch is, I will be ranking them based on how I fought them, which is by myself because I have no friends. Anyways, let's just get right into it. At last place, I believe the easiest boss in the game is probably going to be Adele, not the singer, but Adele, the Gaping Jaw. The first phase is so easy, as you can stay behind Adele the whole time and not even get hit. His grab attack can be a little problematic, as if you get grabbed by it, it starts to heal him if he grabs you. However, the grab attack is literally so easy to dodge, and you also get a visual and audio cue, so it's really not that hard to dodge. When his second phase starts, it gets a little hard, but I still find it pretty easy. There is one attack where he spews lightning everywhere, and I always manage to get hit by it at least once. Other than that, the second phase only adds another grab attack to his grab, and lightning AoEs after every attack. You can jump the lightning, which makes it even easier because of the iframes you get with a jump. And you can even combo a jump attack with it. Despite how cool I find this boss, I still think Adele is the easiest of the Night Lords. The 7th hardest boss in the game in solo is probably going to be Augur or Maurice. If you main Arnai, this boss is probably the easiest boss in the game. But if you main any of the other characters, then it might be a little hard. I mean Recluse too, since she has spells that you can use. First of all, you're fighting 2 battles at once here. Not only are you fighting to avoid falling asleep in the game, but you also have to fight falling asleep in real life. But being serious, this boss is like 5 attacks. One attack is charging at you, then he splashes water at you, splash water in a circle, spam jellyfish, drop nukes, and put you to sleep. I mean, I guess that's more than 5, but it feels like it's 5 attacks. I mean, I find this boss kind of hard because I think it's kind of just a running simulator. All you really do is just chase the boss around and hope for the best. Finally, when playing solo, the little hands on the ground can be so annoying. Like, those things have killed me so many times. I fucking hate those things. Anyways, this boss is only difficult because it's so bad. Moving on to the 6th hardest boss in the game, it's Caligo, the Fissure in the Fog. That's kinda disappointing because in the lore, this dragon is supposed to be prehistoric, which is like better than Bale and Placidusax. But in terms of difficulty, he or she, or whatever the fucking gender is, probably a she, cause Caligo kind of sounds like a girl name. I'm assuming the gender, but anyways. Yeah, she is basically easier than Bale or Placidusax. The hardest part about this boss fight is Frostbite, but you can easily counter that with the Frost boluses, and especially the mountaintop shifting earth. What's funny is that I first tried Caligo and I didn't even have mountaintop during that run. She barely even has any moves. There's that slow ass tail swipe, which is pretty easy to dodge. Sometimes she claws at you if you're too close. When she breathes frost, you can easily dodge it by going to her side or running away. Sometimes you can even dodge into it. In phase 2, she starts to leave crystals on the ground that can inflict frost on you, but I find it pretty minimal and easy to avoid. Then she does a few gimmick attacks like fogging up the place and you have to find her. And she also does this other attack where she just flies around and launch airstrikes at you, but most of the time I dodge it by just panic rolling, so it's not even that hard. Overall, the hardest part about this boss fight is just chasing Caligo's head and of course the frostbite, but if you have mountaintop, that's not even a problem. Being the first boss you have to face, of course this boss is going to be one of the easier bosses in the game, and to be honest, this is one of the easiest bosses in the game. At the number 5 spot, as the 5th hardest Night Lord in the game, it's Gladius, or Tricephalos. Gladius' sword attacks are pretty easy to dodge, as you can tell when the swords are about to swing. When he chomps on you, it's kinda hard to tell sometimes when he's gonna chomp on you, but the way I could tell is when Gladius starts to open his mouth. If it was just those attacks, Gladius would probably be at the bottom of the list. Those attacks are really just that easy. Except Gladius has his move where he kind of splits into 3, which is kind of a nightmare. My god, when this happens, I suggest you just run for your life and hope for the best, as they will jump the shit out of you because you are by yourself. you are playing solo and you are getting jumped by 3 dogs. This attack is a nightmare, but it can also help you because it can also amplify your damage by 3 because each dog has their own hitbox. I wouldn't suggest it though because they will fuck you up. So I just suggest saving your ult like executors and hitting all 3 dogs while you're in your ult, or you could use Duchess's ult so you could just kind of hide. Other than that, the fight is pretty easy, but when it turns into a gang fight, it becomes really frustrating. Thankfully, it's not a permanent phase, and Gladius eventually shifts back into 1 dog again with 3 heads. After Gladius, I would say the difficulty of these Night Lords up next are on a different tier. The first 4 bosses I listed are all pretty easy in my opinion, but the last 4 I'm about to talk about, they are on a different level. With that being said, at number 4 we have Fulgore, the Dark Drift Knight. For this boss, you need a lightning weapon. I know it says weakness and that it's optional, but you need a lightning weapon because otherwise he's gonna spawn a bunch of holy swords from the ground that can make it so much more difficult. I find his normal attacks with his weapons to be pretty easy to dodge as they are kind of well telegraphed. However, it can be difficult to get hits in as he moves extremely fast around the map. He also has so many AoEs that you literally can't lose focus even if you are at a distance from him. In his second phase, he literally grows an arm similar to what happens to Yudhik's Gundyr in Dark Souls 3. Honestly, it kind of foreshadows it because most of the time, you will be fighting Nameless King right before Fulgore as the Night 2 boss, which is another Dark Souls 3 boss. Anyways, back on topic. With his new arm comes a lot of visual clutter. He sprays a bunch of blue goo and it can kind of be hard to see what is going on. Since you can't really see what's going on, it's kind of hard to tell when to dodge because of course you can't see. And like I've said before, his attacks are also so fast and they're also AoE, so it can be really difficult. However, even if his attacks are really fast and AoE, his attacks are still pretty telegraphed and there are clear punish windows after his long combos, which makes Fulgore the 4th hardest Night Lord. This might be a shock to most of you as this is most people's number 1 pick as their hardest boss in Night Rain, but in my opinion, the 3rd hardest Night Lord in Elden Ring Night Rain is Libra. To be honest, this fight reminds me of the twin princes, Lorien and Lothric from Dark Souls 3. Libra is a guy that likes to teleport, and he also likes to spam a bunch of projectiles at you. However, the hardest part about this boss is trying to avoid getting madness inflicted on you. Madness is such a hard status effect to deal with because A, it deals a lot of damage when it's inflicted on you, and B, you get stunned for a few seconds, which makes you vulnerable to another attack. But when he's not spamming projectiles at you, his attacks with his weapon is pretty slow and easy to dodge, while also being a good chance to punish. This fight is so difficult because it basically gives you no chance to breathe. However, I also find it pretty balanced with all the amber crystals on the ground that heal you and your madness. You can also counter it by using clarifying boluses when fighting the boss. When you break him out of his ritual, he can go berserk. This makes his moveset pretty erratic, which can be really difficult, but you can just easily avoid it by not interrupting his ritual. Overall, this fight takes a lot of patience, and being greedy can inflict a lot of madness on you, literally. I understand if people disagree on my ranking, but I find them to be easier than the next 2 bosses, which I find really difficult when you play solo. Before I talk about the final 2 bosses, if you liked the video so far, please leave a like, comment, or even subscribe if you want more content like this. Or you can dislike if you don't like it because it also motivates me to be better. Anyways, on to the last 2. At the number 2 spot, the 2nd place for the 2nd hardest Night Lord in Elden Ring Night Rain. It's the Godskin duo of fucking Night Rain, the Sentient Pest Noster. If I was making this difficulty ranking based on co-op, I would probably have these 2 fucks a lot lower. Sadly, I dealt with this fight in fucking solo. My god, I despise this fight. There's 2 enemies that you have to deal with in this fight. There's the moth, Noster, and the scorpion, Fardass. Well, his name is Fardis, but I call him Fardass. As a solo player, you pretty much have to focus on Fardass because he's on the ground and Noster is in the sky unless you're Iron Eye. First of all, Fardas by himself is pretty easy to deal with. The fucking problem is that stupid fucking moth. Noster will literally spam poison mist everywhere and that shit deals so much damage. That bitch will also shoot missiles at you while you're dealing with Fardas. The worst part is, you can't even see what the moth is doing half the time because of Fardas's fat ass. If you can manage to deal with that first phase, just wait till the second phase. The two fucks combine and start charging at you with everything they got. Apparently Noster has $1 million because he just called a fucking orbital strike on me. While at the same time, they're both charging at me full speed while spamming projectiles everywhere. That fucking attack is impossible to dodge. Also, fuck Fardas's scream. I know there's a tell to it, but I hate how his scream deals damage. The second phase is pretty much the same as the first, but now they got orbital strikes while he's still spraying poison mist everywhere while Fardas is fucking charging at me. On a bad day, this Nightlord would be number 1 because this fucking Nightlord is the torment of solo players. Last but not least, it's obvious, the final boss in Night Rain. The hardest boss in Elden Ring Night Rain is Hjolster, the Nightlord, the Night Aspect, whatever you want to call him, Wilder. I don't even know if that's the lore. I haven't watched any lore videos. This boss is the Slave Knight Gale of Elden Ring Night Rain. He starts off weak, but then he starts to gain aura through aura farming. Then he gets stronger. With the first phase, he is honestly a breeze, kind of like Genichiro to Ishin the Sword Saint. When you get to the second phase, that is when the real fun begins. He pulls out the Holy Moonlight Greatsword, he will start fucking you up. Hjolster is relentless, as I feel he never really stops attacking. That means his punish windows are so small, which makes it so difficult. When he attacks with his Moonlight Greatsword, you also have to dodge with precision, as not only do you have to time the dodge, but you have to dodge in a specific direction as he will hit the shit out of you. Finally, he aura farms even more and steals an affinity from a previous Nightlord you have defeated. The worst affinities he could possibly get is Madness, self-explained, and Sleep, well also maybe Frost too. When he steals an affinity, you have to be careful where you step, as the ground is exploding with the affinity he chose. Similar to how Fulgor has holy swords coming out of the ground, but this time you can't cancel it with lightning. This makes it so you have to be so careful of your surroundings. Meanwhile, he is attacking at you with everything he's got. With all these factors combined, I find Hjolster to be the hardest Nightlord in Elden Ring Night Rain.